I realised that if you don't fix something within yourself before you move on, you're going to get the same person in a different outfit.
Grownish, smartish, British.
We are British, apparently.
We got Trudy back in the building.
Hi.
We've done the intro already, but for those who are watching for the first time because they've just come across this episode, can you please let them know who you are, what you do, what you're about, what you stand for?
I am Truly on Instagram, London Girls Talk. I do a pod with my co-host Shells. That's called When the Kids Go to Bed.
Girl.
You're remembering more than I am. Doing better than me.
I'll be hype man for the day.
Obviously, we post a lot on Insta and our episodes are up on YouTube. We've only done a few so far. But yeah, it's going well. What do I do now? I run my own business. I do lash and brows.
Don't judge me.
No, don't judge me. I've got no lashes on. My brows are terrible right now. Makeup is my saviour at the moment.
You alright. You look good. You look good. You look fine.
She says. What else do? I just talk on pods.
Which is why you're here.
Which is why I'm here.
All right, so we start every episode with a quote.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to use the sentences one, or shall we just stick with the one quote, or one thing?
Yours.
All right. I mean, it's not really a quote. It's just how I'm feeling. And maybe it's because I'm in a very safe space of a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a healthy kind of love that when I open Instagram, when I open TikTok, when I open headlines, there's just like a highlight of toxic relationships, and it's a glamorized look of it. And so for me, my thing is stop normalizing toxic love. And
Amen, sister.
And the thing is, I was guilty of it at some point where I thought love is meant to be a bit angry and aggressive, and you know, we are meant to like break up to make up, and we're meant to be, you know, I remember I quoted like Trey Songz Hood Love as an example. We got hood love. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we'd be arguing, fighting, whatever, but then, you know, and then it's like,
and then the sex is great and we make up and
there
we're
we
back
go
together again.
And it's just like, but you know, I'll still cook for him. Like his and hers, like Wretch 32 is forever something that resonates with me.
Yeah.
Which is when you hear these conversations and these narratives being pushed, are we normalizing and saying, actually, do you know what? Deal with it. It's okay to get disrespected. It's okay for you to be aggressive and put your hands on him, because ultimately it just shows you how passionate you are around each other. And like, well, now that I'm in my situation now, compared to my last situation, i.e. the father of my child, total different energy. And like maybe it's because of growth within myself, or just understanding what a relationship should look like.
How do you feel that you've transitioned from an unhealthy relationship to a healthy one now?
Learning myself and truly understanding what is love. Firstly, I truly believe love is overrated. And I think a lot of us growing up, we romanticize relationships and love, and it's meant to be this amazing feeling. And the minute that feeling's shaken, it's just like, oh my God, you don't love me. Oh my God, you don't care for me. It's like, for me now, I put my own understanding of relationship very different than it was before. So before, it's like, he has to be more in love with me than I was because my mum told me this when I was younger, and that's the only way a man will stay. And it's just like then me understanding actually relationships are respect.
Yeah.
It's honoring you. It's being patient with you. It's being kind with you. It's wanting to learn you, understand you, and you're also being selfless all the time.
Do you think you can do that when you're a young person?
It requires a lot of learning as you go along. Like in the last episode, you spoke about how like you went into like loads of different self-discoveries, or thinking that you were, but you're in survival mode. But at the time, you probably thought,
I'm learning so much about myself.
That's it. And I think now when I see young people get into relationships, I'm like, I genuinely hope that you both truly understand that and what you're getting yourself into, because there are success relationships that have started off, we met in high school, we met in, you know, college or whatever, but then we don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And are we staying together because we've been together since high school and everyone knows us from back in the day, and now we've got to show face. But I think I thought I was grown. I thought I had my ish together. I'm glad that I got married. I don't, for me, I'm old school. Get married first, have children. And it's not to take away from anyone else who has different values. But in that sense, I'm glad I did what was right from a religious perspective to honor God in that sense. But was he the right person? Did I make right decisions? Probably not. But it's just
also
what
as
it
well,
is.
when you get to know yourself, do you really even know how to honor God if you don't understand love?
Please.
That's
continue.
new whole episode.
That's so interesting.
What I mean by that is, how can you love yourself? How can you love anyone else, if you don't know how to love yourself? How? I'm asking.
So it's hard because I used to take the narrative of, oh, you can't, no one can love you until you love yourself, or you can't love someone until you love yourself. But I don't wholeheartedly believe that narrative, and that's because my husband has taught me to love myself to a certain extent. He's unlocked layers of love that I have. So there's a level of confidence I have within myself, within my growth. But do I love myself all the time? Do I, am I really my own rider like that at times? Do I really believe in myself all the time? No. So, but was I still able to love someone else? Yeah. Like, it's weird. I don't know how to, but I feel like we balance each other out, but not in the sense of I depend on you for happiness, or I depend on you to feel love, but you help enhance that love, and you help, I guess, stabilize the shaky parts of my love, of my self-love.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it is. I'm thinking what I've learned about myself with love is there's lots of things that fall into or under the umbrella of love. In a romantic level context, there's a lot of giving of yourself to the other person to serve them and to honor them.
100.
But whilst you're doing that, you have to be mindful not to lose yourself. Yeah. And I feel like in toxic relationships, a lot of the time, it's either one person it's very unbalanced in that one person is often over giving, over sharing, over exhausting all of themselves, squeezing themselves out to the point of empty, and the other person taking, expecting and wanting and taking. And when that imbalance tries to balance itself out, whether that be one person shifts and the other person stays where they are, or both people are trying to shift and whatever, that's when it can get hella toxic. What I was thinking when you were saying that you don't believe in the narrative of being able to love someone when you don't love yourself is, when you love someone, you have to love yourself in that if you don't understand yourself, if you're not honest with yourself, if you're not patient and kind and accepting of yourself, you can't truly be accepting and patient and kind with someone else. You can't. I don't believe you can. I believe that you can perform. You can be performative.
Like on
a level I can give to you. On a level I can show you.
So I thought, so maybe you are saying this. Is this a case where basically you feel if you don't truly love yourself, then you'll continue to do yourself a disservice because you're giving something more
that
than
you're
you're
not
giving yourself.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When I think of self-love, I think about, am I really feeling myself all the time? Am I truly always like thinking I'm the ish all the time, whether it's my confidence, my self-worth, or that to me fluctuates at times. You are 100% right. One of my first quotes that I used in one of my episodes was, don't lose yourself trying to be there for others. And that's what I did. And one of my viral videos was the fact that I gave so much of my ex-husband. I was filling his cup so much that I ended up dehydrated because I got nothing in return. But I was hoping that
You're
one day I poured my everything, but in hope that I will help. Not just that, but maybe I'm gonna help mend you. That one day you're gonna be like, do you know what? Here, take a pint of this. Take a liter of this. I've got everything to pour into you. And then when I met my husband today,
you're getting poured into now.
And we are pouring into each other in different ways. There are times where I'm not feeling 100%.
Oh, of course. It's not always going to be balanced.
It's never 50-50. I don't think it's ever 50-50 because we're all waking up feeling differently. And, you know, as much as our intention is to give 50-50, there are times where I'm like, all right, cool, I'm sailing the ship today. Yeah. And that's okay. Rather than going, why is he moving like that?
And that's really what being submissive is. But let's not get onto another topic.
No, but that's it. But then I've spoken about being submissive and it being like a two-way thing. Like my husband said that I'm happy, like submission comes two ways. It's not a woman must submit. No, a man must also submit into understanding that sometimes he's got to adjust his lane and take over this. And actually, do you know what? It's not my duty. It's not my responsibility. I've not been taught this. It's what can I do to serve her today? Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing that I'm now experiencing.
And I always say in relation to that, because people are like, oh, communication is the be all and end all of relationships. And it's very, very important. But comprehension is even more so, because I could be communicating to you, but if you're not understanding,
sometimes you're communicating to a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing resonating.
And it just makes it really hard. But that the reason I harp on about you have to love yourself is because if you don't have an understanding of yourself, when I say that, I mean your flaws and all.
Yeah. So I had a lot of realization. So part of my growth of like being uncomfortable, like we spoke in the first episode, like of being lonely, like choosing to be alone than to be feeling lonely in a relationship. Sound like a Beyonce lyric, but I swear to God, I'm not trying.
But it's true, because I've never done that.
And that's what I had to do, which is I felt I was alone in my last marriage.
Right.
And I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing to serve myself? What am I doing to serve God? What am I doing to even serve my child at this point? What can I justify being here? And what am I, is it anything positive? Or am I just slowly being broken down? So when I left and became uncomfortable, I had to really, really take a good look in the mirror. And I think in regards to growth, it's being able to not resist the growth. And not being able to like be stubborn about it and go, well, I know I was a great wife and I know I was a great, but what did I actually do wrong at times to not help?
Some people get shocked when I say, oh yeah, like he was this, he done that, he did this and he did that. And that's most of the reason why we broke up. But on reflection,
accountability,
I realized that I did this and I was short on this area and they're like, yeah, but no.
Because they focus on the big...
Regardless, yeah, they're looking at, oh, he did that to you. Oh, my gosh, how could he? Blah, blah, blah. How could you now even think that you're accountable? I am.
Then that goes back to the fact that sometimes people focus on what's louder. And
what's bigger.
Yeah. So a man acting in a certain manner is a lot louder than maybe a woman's reaction. And therefore, it overpowers the situation.
It's like sin is sin.
Accepting that's that. But then that's exactly what I did. I took, for a very long time, I couldn't reflect on myself because every time I did something that's slightly wrong, he'll do something that's 10 times louder. And therefore, that's the only focus.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you did this, and you did this. It's just like, but if...
Yeah, you can easily excuse yourself for your shortcomings because your sin is so big and loud over there. And it's really hurting me. Whereas mine was maybe just minusculely hurting you. That's it. In my opinion, from my perspective.
And that's it. And that's the worst part, is it's my perspective. And I think, but the issue is it's upon reflection.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't stop to reflect. And some people never ever take accountability. Like whenever you see anything on social media, they're like, women take accountability. Yeah, right. Like that would never happen. So when people hear when some women say that, they're like, are you just trying to be like a pleaser, a yes person? I'm like, no, but sometimes we have to accept that we were flawed. If I thought I was right, then I'm going to enter my next relationship with the same energy and the same entitlement, and then it's going to fail. Or I'm going to get someone who's going to bend backwards for me and it's going to be unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I had to also put myself in check. And that I can only do that through just realizing what I don't want in my relationship, what I'd like in my relationship, and how can I bring it into existence? 'Cause it's not going to birth itself.
This is making me think of when conversations occur about domestic violence, like why doesn't a woman leave and all that kind of stuff. It makes me think about, I went through domestic violence when I was younger, and
was that with the father of your children?
Yeah, like when I was getting through all of that, people were like, oh, you know, you're gonna but then I ended up in a relationship that mirrored the last one. And obviously on all the reflection I've done, all the people I've met, the professionals I've worked with and all that kind of stuff, I realized that if you don't fix something within yourself before you move on, you're going to get the same person in a different outfit. Maybe different intensities, different language or accent or style.
It's a similar energy.
But you're going to get the same thing reoccurring. And the thing for me was growing up, becoming an empath, like looking at my mum in survival mode and always having to be strong and mature and not be a burden, not ask for too much, not don't be too loud, don't be too naughty, don't cause any disruptions, don't burden her with anything more. I went into all my relationships in that same way. So when I was then empty and not being poured into and even being abused on some levels, don't be a burden, don't be too loud, don't be too much, don't say too much, don't rock the boat, don't this, don't that. And when I'm saying in any situation, you can take accountability, I don't mean it in you were to blame it was because of you and blah, blah, blah. It's more of you were the common denominator in the 5 or 3 or 2 relationships that look quite similar. You were the common denominator.
And it's like, what are you doing
to
those 2
people
yourself?
Or 3 or 4 or 5 people might be similar, but they've come from wherever they've come from and they found you. You were the common denominator. What are the patterns within yourself, within your behaviors, within your mindset, your thought processes, how you're reasoning with yourself? What are your patterns? Because those are the only things that you can change. You can't change another man coming in and mistreating you.
What do you feel was your biggest flaw? I'd say it's a disservice, because when you were describing what you were describing, I was smiling in relation on levels.
I know, I can see it. Yeah.
Like everything that you said in regards to how you look to your mum, what you learned from your mum. Like, I never accepted gifts and was happy for the bare minimum.
Yes.
And it's not because I don't think my self-worth. It's just, that's okay. Like, it's all right. We don't have to be a diva about things. We don't have to ask above and beyond. Like, we don't want to put someone out, but it's just because our mum never did and asked for too much.
Yeah.
But then we then tolerate
too much
and have a lower standard, not even realizing it, because we're not going, oh my God, like, thank you so much for loving me. It's just, I'm content with this love.
Yeah.
But then we realize afterwards, was I content with this love? You mentioned something about when I said to you, oh, I allowed myself to be alone, and you said not me.
I've never done that.
So you've basically consciously or subconsciously gone from one relationship to the other. Would you say it's subconscious?
Subconsciously, yeah, definitely. In my 20s, I never realized what I was doing. I think I was aware when I got into my current relationship that you haven't had any time to heal. What are you doing? So I feel like the first year of my relationship, my current relationship now, that's how I felt. And because of that, I've been very honest about it. We talk about it all the time. I've been very honest about it. I've had therapy. We had couples therapy as well. So we've done a lot of work on that. And because I'm conscious of it, I've been very intentional about advocating for myself when I haven't felt like I can give or do certain things, or when I've needed time out or I've needed space or whatever it might be, whatever my needs have been, where I've never ever voiced them before as a flaw and pattern of my behaviors, I'm way more confident and comfortable because I feel safe in this love. So even though the timing and how I entered the relationship might not have been ideal, because I was conscious of it, I was able to do something about it with my partner. So I'm very lucky in that I've found somebody who's patient enough, who loves me enough to work with me, assist me, hold my hand through difficult times, and hear honesty and know that it's not personal to him.
100%.
Do you get what I mean? So now he's now got the floor to be completely honest with me as well. So it's been beautiful.
You got a beautiful dialogue and understanding between you.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
So obviously just from the basis that you said that you've jumped into one relationship into the other, subconsciously, do you feel like you also transferred trauma into relationships?
100%.
And now with the person that you are today, how long have you been together now?
8 years.
Would you say like the first year or so, was there any point where you felt like you're self-sabotaging the whole thing with just bringing in different energy that maybe he didn't even come with?
You know, when you was talking about your husband and I said to you, how did you transition from a healthy to a non-healthy to a healthy relationship? The reason I asked that is because my transition was what you're saying. I did bring traumas in. I do have self-survival behaviors that I quickly revert to because that's all I've known. That's all I've ever done. That's how I've survived and got to this point. And that's why I say I'm lucky, because as somebody who I can open up to and say, look, this is where I've come from. This is how I've grown up. This is how I've become because of it. I don't like being like that. I don't like saying or reverting to this style. You know, what can we do to navigate through that? He's been like, yeah, cool. Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try this. And he's very aware, bless him. Change doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't, no.
And as much as you can be intentional and reflective and self-aware, doesn't make you perfect.
No, and you know what? Sometimes you feel like you've unlearned behaviour. And then the reality is that I remember when because I've been single for a long time, just getting to know people, and I was easy to lock someone off because I was risk assessing. If I'm red flag off of your head.
No.
Literally, I swear to God. No. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to have that. It's not going to run. Goodbye. But it's because I did the opposite of what you did, which is I became so single and so self-aware that anyone I'll connect with, give me one reason to walk away. I'm not invested. I'm good. And that's
Did you have your dad growing up?
Yeah. Like he only passed away 2 years ago. It's all right. And then up into I just never allowed anyone close to me.
Right.
So as much as I was yearning for love, I was so protective because of my last experience, because mine was quite heavy on as well. And the next level of toxicity that we normalized to an extent that when I came to then enter my relationship with my husband now, I'd already done the whole trauma deflection on other people. But what I learned was, being single for this long, I thought I was now a calmer person. I was now, a person who doesn't like certain energies and But until you're in a situation where you're faced with conflict.
That's why I'm smiling, yeah.
Because you revert into something. I'm like, oh no, I thought she was gone.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
But it's because you just weren't surrounded by that energy. And it's
the biggest thing for me, when I'm in that moment of, oh shit, man, again.
Yeah.
I'm like, just go and apologize. Just go and apologize. Explain where you're from, where you're feeling, what you're thinking right now. Because I guess in those moments, as a partner, husband, wife, or whatever, from the other person's side, all you can really ask and expect from the other person is that they see it too.
To see your intention.
Because from when they see that you can see it too, it's really hard to be mad at someone when they can see. If someone apologizes to you, says, I'm really sorry. That's the end of the conversation. What? You're not sorry. Well, you're just saying
You're just
sorry.
saying sorry because you know that's what needs to be said next.
Yeah.
In order to
but
move on.
when you've actually done a little bit of reflection, even if it was 10 minutes in the bathroom to yourself, which is my case. Right, I've had my timeout. I've had my 10 minutes. Okay. I was in the wrong because I did this and then I said it like that. And then, okay. Right. So, babe, let's sort this out. I know I did X, Y, and Z. Like, if your apology is reflection
and it's sincere
and it's
with
communicative so that the other person can comprehend where you're coming from, it's a lot easier to get over stuff and get through stuff with your partner or your husband.
I agree. And I think there's something beautiful from that growth that you're having, because not many of us are willing to self-reflect. I remember like I told myself, now there's not a single argument that's worth even holding energy towards for that long enough in my relationship. I refuse to argue over something that's petty. I am willing to take the L when I need to take the L. Whereas before, I'm like, safe. We're not talking. Let's see how long we're going to hold this out for.
Stubbornness.
Let's see how long the hostility is going to be there, because I'm not going to... And I'm so angry that I don't self-reflect. I'm not willing to. And there's so many people today in relationships where they're like, he did me dirty, that's it, I'm not talking. He's going, she did me dirty, but no one's communicating or self-reflecting or taking a minute out.
My partner and I, we've slipped into that and over the years, and it's so easy to get into that. It's so easy to slip into that. And whenever I get that mindset, like now, where I'm like, he's not meeting me halfway, he's not understanding me where I'm coming from, he's not a mind reader. Yeah, that expectation and that unrealistic expectation, oftentimes I'm like, actually, I don't want to do, we're not talking for 2 days. No. So let's meet in the middle and work through, okay, you made me feel like blah, blah, blah. But for a person who's grown up suppressing their needs, suppressing who they are and, voicing how they're feeling about things in the negative, and maybe a bit worried about confronting the other person or not feeling like a burden, it doesn't come naturally. No. It's not
a second nature. You have to make it.
You have to work. And this is what, when people say relationships are hard work, this is what they mean.
Honestly.
It's the transparency that is the hard work, because not only are you having to be transparent with that person to hope that they give that back to you, you have to be transparent with yourself. And it's hard.
You got to constantly check yourself.
Look how many people are out there taking drugs, how with sex addictions,
because they're trying
smoking.
To oppress.
So many people have got addictions to things because they're
avoiding
daily, trying to distract themselves from themselves.
Just put a cover over what the problem is.
Yeah.
And they'd rather run away from themselves than to just simply sit there, because it shows you how hard it is to look in the mirror, how hard it is to be real with yourself and go, do you know what, I ambushed this, I ruined this myself. And I did that in the beginning. My biggest thing that I took away from my last relationship, when I was getting to know some guy, and the minute we argued, I assumed it was over, because every time I'd argue with my ex-husband,
it was over, and then you're back again.
Like it was like, not even like, his response was like, we're arguing over something minor, like time, we got the times wrong. Yeah. Why are we now unpacking 2016 days
Whatever
of
drama.
this and like, why can't we just keep it at that? So every time I got into getting to know someone, I'd have a bit of conflict with them. My old self will come out and I go, okay, I guess it's over then. And they're like, no, we just argued. Yeah. I'm like, but I'm not used to this. Yeah. I'm used to someone telling me I'm now this and that, and my self-worth is this and and then, and in this day you did that. And I'm like, and I'd always told like my husband, I'm like, yo, like, it's just, can we focus on this part and not make it into this every time? So when entering a new place, I then protect myself and be like, I guess it's over then. And then they'll message me the next day and they'll be like, yo, you good? And I'm like,
oh, it was just an argument.
Yeah. Oh, is this what like healthy relationship looks like? But I sabotaged a relationship because they were constantly on edge with me. And I was just like, oh no, but I'm not trying to be that person. Yeah. But this is all I've ever known.
That at the beginning of our relationship. Yeah. Massively. I think I'm just blessed that I think maybe the therapy and both of us being able to be open about where we were, because I feel as well, when you're coming from your survival place or your traumas and they're also coming with their stuff, I feel like women also think that men don't have their stuff.
Oh yeah as
well, and when you're in your head about something, it's hard to look at somebody else and think, oh, are they having something? Are they going through something? Are they struggling with something? Are they, especially when you feel like the other person is quite put together. They're intelligent together. And, you know, they're whatever. And
but also, it's the understanding of what a man is as well. We have this narrative that men are strong, men can't be weak. So therefore, you must not have problems. When you're younger, you're like, you're the leader. You've got this. So you should.
And where I didn't have a man growing up around, like you had your dad around, I'm constantly chasing, what are men like? What do they need? What do they want? How do I
trial and error?
Yeah, because babe, when I was 11 is when I first got chatted up by a grown man. 11 years old. That summer holidays in between year 6 and year 7. And I was on Bush Green. I remember it.
Wow.
He was a young man. He was maybe like 21 or whatever. But you can, all right, I might not look 11, but you can see in my round puffy face that I'm a child.
Baby fat's still there.
Yeah, like, and my little walnut titties, like, come on now. Anyway,
but at the
time as an 11-year-old, then my mum having to say, right, okay, your curves are coming out, and maybe, like, you know, I need to have this conversation with you to prep you.
Be mindful now. Yeah,
like when you're going through that, and you're getting into men are looking at me and objectifying me sexually, and you don't have, darling, you are the most beautiful girl in the world, daddy loves you, daddy's taking you here, daddy is investing in you. When you don't have that, that's your idea of what a man is.
Yeah. And then you start thinking, oh, maybe this is what attention I should be getting, and maybe I should be embracing.
That's what I'm chasing now. I'm chasing that. And that's why I said in your last episode, I'm looking aesthetics. So I now have to look good all the time. So I get that positive attention from males.
The gratification's there and you feel good, basically.
Yeah, but that follows into your relationships as well. And when you're seeking that validation from someone, even I've battled with it in this relationship where like I'm like, oh, is this boring? Because there isn't that up and down drama. There isn't that off. There isn't stability. It's like, oh, you're not just looking at me for sex every day. Like, oh, okay.
Or there's no guilt for not having sex.
This is just a normal family. And I was like, I remember sitting there thinking, is this boring or am I effed up in the head?
No, but this then goes back to the narrative of the introduction of the episode, which is we are normalizing toxic relationships, toxic love. That when we get something that's... So firstly, when I finally got what I really prayed and hoped for, because that's what I truly yearned for, even though I was maybe attracting something else or still gravitating to something else, I didn't know how to receive love. So when you finally have this person who's mature enough, who's self-reflective enough, who actually has been through their fair share of unhealthy relationship, and now they're ready. And you're ready, but are you ready? Because the minute this guy's pouring love into you, you're like, hold up, nope, there's a catch. You don't cheat on me, you're gonna hurt me,
it's too good.
Too good to be true. Like I was telling, I spoke in my podcast, I thought I was gonna die for my wedding. I'm like, this is too good to be true. Because like, and I tell him every single day, I appreciate you. He looks at me and goes, I appreciate you too. There's not a single day, because it was something that I never thought was possible. I never thought I could love the way I do. I never thought that I can have a calm love. And it's not boring. It's stable. It's healthy. It's where you're most going to flourish.
It's home.
It's a safe space. And not just that, your children can also thrive in that environment. Like, I think, like, we both... I mean, I don't know whether... Was it your decision to leave the last relationship? Like, or was it just like a...
Babe, it got so bad. It was just, I feel like towards the end, I found out about a girl, so I broke it off. And then there was a point where I was like, I can't do this without you. And he was trying to get me back, and I was like, no. And I think we both kind of toyed with, this is not healthy. But we want each other. We want this to work, but we don't know how to make it work.
Would you say you were just as unhealthy in a relationship as he was?
Oh yeah, but in a different way.
In a different light,
but 100%. I had no business being in a relationship. I have no dad around. Became a mum at a young age. It's just, I had no business. And even,
I mean, it doesn't mean you don't deserve to be in a relationship. But
it doesn't mean that I don't deserve love.
Ready.
But I just wasn't ready. But I don't regret anything.
Are we referring to the father of your children?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What was the final straw for you, and how old were your children when you guys split ways?
Oh, babies. I'm trying to think if she started school yet. No. Maybe 2 and 4. I want to say they were 2 and 4. Because I feel like it was just before she started primary school. Or just as she started primary school. Around that age anyway. They were young.
Do you feel like a lot of people understand the impact? Because when you're in these toxic relationships and it's all about the what you guys share and there's now children involved, do you feel like a lot of people stop to think about the children? Or are we too busy in our heads of, we can make this work,
babe,
I can't leave you, I can't leave you, I can't leave you?
Yeah, and that's, for me, that's what I think triggered you. It's best to separate, because if you don't, this toxicity just was intensifying, and for me, I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier, and I didn't want to get to the point where this was my children's norm. Yeah. So because I knew I didn't have the skills and resources and support to stay and to work through it, because we had we loved each other intensely. Like, I still got love for this man now. But where he had come, so basically he had come from Uganda, came here as a child, a teenager, but in Uganda was in an orphanage, was separated from his family.
He had his own trauma.
He saw wars, killings, like he went through a lot. He didn't have a childhood. And then my childhood was unpredictable. For the best word to use. So getting together and loving each other, but having all these intense traumas and emotions and, not knowing how to work it out, not really having the best support networks either way.
Do you feel like you clinged on to each other?
Yeah, we were
very dependent.
Yeah, unhealthily dependent on each other. So breaking away from that, it was probably over a year in the making. If you know what I mean. But where we're trying to, I love you, and we have plans for our family to get married, and
you have this vision. And
yeah,
you don't
and that's now
deviate from that vision.
We're now both failures.
But you're not.
Yeah, but at the time, those intense emotions, that's how you're feeling. So it's like,
But I think it's massive credit to you both, assuming that you both thought about the children, because there's a lot of people who hang around, they say for the children, but there's two parts to it. One, you're not ready to let go of the self-dependency or the whatever it is that you have between yourselves, and you feel as an individual solo person, you won't survive with that person because of how unhealthy your relationship is. But you're using your children as an excuse, but really you're not ready to face that, and you're not ready to let go. And then the second part is, you think by saying for the sake of the children and looking like a unit will serve your children something, when in fact we're destroying our children, and we're setting the bar so low.
It's so difficult. I feel like it's just so difficult, because either way you feel like you're not winning.
Like, but I'd rather win. I'd rather not to win, in the sense of I've taken the L of a divorce.
Yeah.
And my child maybe isn't living on mum and dad, which isn't what I thought it would be, because we have bath time with dad, we have reading time with dad, there's a routine in place. I'm breaking that routine. So that's a guilt, right? But I'd rather know we're not together anymore, but you now thriving beautifully from the age of 2, not knowing what toxic relationship is, than to say we've failed, we're still together, but now our children
are damaged.
So damaged.
Yeah.
And I've had people on my comments on TikTok going, you're a disgrace for having a divorce, you should have stayed for the sake of the children. I'm like, but you're probably in a situation or know of someone who have an unhealthy relationship.
I've got friends whose parents are together who are the most messed up
That's
people.
It.
Like, I love them, they know I love them, and they will say that they're messed up themselves because their parents stay together.
That's it. And I've had friends, and that's one of my realizations of calling it a day and pulling the plug, when I had my girls around me say, I wish my parents split up, because I don't want to get married now. I don't want this. I'm gravitating to daddy issues, and like I'm attracting all the wrong energies, and I'm just like, I have a decision to make, like consciously away from how I'm feeling about this person, and go, what can I do to serve my child?
Yeah.
That's a very difficult decision, and everyone thinks you're a selfish human being, and you know, you're cold for leaving. But I'd rather know that my child doesn't think that calling me certain names is a normal way to treat a woman, and actually being physical
and continuing that cycle for generations to come.
And it's like, we know realities are, if you grow up without a dad or you grow up in a toxic environment, you always have two different paths you're going to go. You're either going to be exactly like your parent, whether it's an absent parent or an abusive parent, or you're going to be everything that your parent wasn't. And you're making this conscious effort to go, do you know what? I'm changing the narrative. I'm not risking it.
Yeah.
If I can have an opportunity for my child, like even people who say, oh, I'm going to stay and have children with the same person, just so that we're all under one thing. People have said to me, you're selfish to go and find someone else when your children can be one parent. I said, no, it's selfish to have children with the same relationship that failed for the sake of being all from one biological parent. I said,
Babe, I've seen people break up
and get back together just to have kids.
Not to get back together, just sleep together, just so the kids are the same, but you got another men. Yeah, it baffles me.
But then to me, it's like, I sacrificed, and some might not call it sacrifice, but I sacrificed where I could have been on child 3 and 4 for the sake of giving my child and my future children a hope in seeing what healthy love looks like. And it's just like, I had to live with the fact that other people are having children, and I'm here just waiting and hope that I'll find my guy.
Do you find that you get more judgment based because of your religion?
What, that I'm a single parent, or I was a single parent?
Yeah.
No, there's more power over culture. So when it comes to faith and culture, it's all a blur, right? So
what's your heritage?
Egypt and Sudan,
right.
So North African. So I was Islamically, there's no frown upon for being divorced. Like the Prophet got married to a divorcee.
Right.
Like there's no issue with that. If anything, kind of like credit that you're gonna go and marry someone who's divorced. You have enough wisdom to look past it.
Right. Okay.
Culturally, which has nothing to do with faith.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no one's going to want to marry you. You're now going to be like, you're now splitting up a household. You know, you're going to be leftovers, or you're not going to be whatever. But Islamically, it absolutely means nothing. Like, there is divorce in Islam for a reason. Are you good at multitasking? Yeah, sorry. Islamically, there's nothing wrong with divorce if it makes sense. Like, don't just use it lightly.
Yeah.
Don't just end it for the sake of ending it. But it's an option for a reason. So no, like from a faith point of view, there's no pressures for me. But from a cultural point of view, there's, when I was getting to know people, they'll be like, oh, you've been divorced. And I'm like, yeah, but at least I tried. Like, I tried to get it right. Do you know what I mean? What has been your biggest learning? What's the biggest learning from your previous relationship into who you are today?
His dad?
Yeah.
Wow, so many. I've learned a lot. I think acceptance again.
Yeah.
Because I felt like even when we'd broken up, because the children were still quite young, we were still in touch a lot. We still spoke a lot. We still saw each other quite a lot. I went to the same church as his sisters, so we were like around each other quite a bit. And even then I still had that, oh, we might get back together.
I was going to say, did you have that element of hope just being in those environments? Not particularly because I wanted him, but more of the fact that you wanted this.
I wanted the unit.
Yeah.
I wanted the unit for myself. I wanted the unit for the kids. I wanted it to save face. I wanted it for a sense of security. And also, I just didn't want to start again.
It's long.
And even though, like, I'm an outgoing, confident, chatty person, I'm quite flirty. Like, I'll flirt with the tree. You know, not for any reason. I just like chatting to people. Yeah, look at you with your leaves. But not for any sexual
it's just
thing. I'm just an open person.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I wanted him, and it's sad to say, that's what I highly validated my identity in that relationship, and when it didn't work, my part of my identity was a bit lost, like, and I was still young. I was still like 22, you know, so I'm like 23 maybe, whatever.
I mean, give or take a year.
Yeah, but I was still a young girl who'd come from a
navigating
lack of stability. Thought I found it, and then it's
taken away,
and I'm like, oh shit, now what?
Yeah.
So I think
that's important.
Yeah, there was a lot of factors playing into the hope that I held on to.
Yeah.
I think on his part as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, what I'll say, like, for people who leave relationship is take time to find out who you are. Because I lost myself. I lost my identity. I lost my purpose. I put so much weight on the title of a wife and being a mother that when I became just a mother, I felt very lost.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing I put too much of my identity into that role, that I lost sight of me, my purpose, beyond a man, beyond
And
this.
I think that's why I asked you about the religious or cultural aspect, is because even like in Christianity, like there was a heavy weight placed on females with marriage, and, you know, don't date for too long because you don't want to put yourself in temptation to have sex and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we have that for both men and women. It's not like women more or men, but culturally, men get a green light, women don't, in a lot of things.
Oh, culturally, yeah.
Culturally,
They're
man, them
all
can do
sleeping
like
around
you got
and-
like 10 baby mothers, cool, safe,
Yeah.
spud. Whereas women, it's like, oh, you belong to the streets, baby
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
Truly, we ran out of time.
As always.
Can we do like a third part, please? Thank you.
Yeah, when you're ready.
No, honestly, I appreciate you being here. I didn't look at my notes because we just vibed. As you said, it's fine, but it shows
chew the fat, girl. Let's just chew that fat.
I'm down. Yeah, any final words? Any thoughts?
Final words. Anyone that's struggling, because my podcast is heavily based around parenting, co-parenting, the dramas, the trials and tribulations that come with that. I think anyone that's going through a hard time with their co-parent or a breakup and there's children involved, focus on putting your energy into yourself and your child, because it's so easy to look outward at everyone else, not just the co-parent, but everyone else. When you turn that focus around into yourself and your child, you'll be a lot more content. You'll be a lot more focused. You'll be able to get stuff done. You'll be able to look at your own reflection, where you want to grow. And then the arguments and the tiny little daily battles that you have with that other person won't be so magnified.
Yeah.
It won't take up all of your identity as a parent.
Yeah.
And you just won't have the burden of all of that stress on your shoulders, but just be willing to grow through what you go through.
Ooh, I like that. That's another quote right there. Just to extend on that, I think also, which I've spoken about on my podcast before, which is to find time to serve you and just you. And I think people think it's a very selfish thing as a mother to serve just yourself. But in order for you to be the best parent, in order for you to be the best example, for you to have the best energy, you need to recharge.
Oh, 100%.
And it's important to do that. And I think a lot of us are, when we go in survival mode or I need to be the best mum, it's that you're investing this energy, but you're running out of energy.
Yeah.
And I think my mum never understood it, but I had to make it very clear that's how you were.
Yeah.
But we're now in different pressures, different times.
Economy.
And I need, in order for me to be the best mother for Khalil, I need to do something that allows me to recharge, refresh. So when I step into that yard, he gets 100% energy rather than, please don't come chat to me right now.
Yeah. It's that grounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reground yourself with who you are every day, at some point every day, even if it's 5 minutes, just reground yourself.
10 minutes in the toilet to take self-reflection.
Girl, the bathroom is my favourite room in the house because I can lock the door and stay there for 5 minutes. Even though I don't, but yeah.
On that note, truly,
thank you for having me.
Just plug yourself one more time. Make sure everyone subscribes to the channel.
When the kids go to bed, find us on YouTube, Instagram, and London Girls Talk as well. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Good chat, as always.
Yes, and I look forward to plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I've been watching and listening to Growing Up British and myself, Mama Hebz. You can catch me on Instagram on I am Hebz with a Z. Growing Up British.h and Mama Hebz on YouTube. I'm trying to find a better
Love
handle.
this outro.
Damn girl. Mama Hebz on YouTube and TikTok. Please subscribe. I appreciate y'all. And I should start maybe putting a little cash up influence to Miriam to try. If you want to fund the page,
Love that.
slide
Do
in my
it.
DMs,
Do it.
PayPal, Cash App, the works. I accept it all. But yes, please make sure you subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. Peace and love.
Grownish, smartish, British.
We are British.